Welcome to the Blooming League of Original Podcasts.
Howdy, welcome back to Around the World in 80 Plays. I'm Lizzie Bea and that's
Alfie Parker.
And we're joined as always by the winner of Pup Idol, Dolly the dog. Woof woof. This week, Alfie leapt over to Dublin for the 11th stop of the Sister Act UK and Ireland tour, while I can now be found back in London at the Dominion Theatre for Sister Act the Musical's heavenly return to the West End stage. Because I have actually started rehearsals now. Who would have thought? Very exciting.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Felt like a lifetime away, and then all of a sudden, here I am. But yeah, all good. If this is your first time joining us, we're exploring the UK and Ireland's wonderful arts, history and culture as we make our way from city to city with Sister Act the Musical, or at least that's what our producer tells us to say. How's the week been for you, Alfie?
Yeah, very nice, thank you. Back in Dublin. Dublin's nice. I always like Dublin. This week's been good. Back at the Bord Gosh. The theatre is lovely. We'll talk about that later. And yeah, back on the road, getting used to it, getting the swing of it. Flying now and technically international. Whoa. So a bit of a superstar here.
You're a bit grown up being on tour without me as well, aren't you?
Yeah, you know me. It's kind of just a big grown up, big boy, really.
What did you do when I wasn't there to pack your bags?
Cry.
Yeah, I thought so. So, has anything exciting happened since our last episode?
Since our last episode, what's happened? Well, we have Ruth Jones officially on the stage. Now that is exciting. And Ruth's absolutely smashing it. She's great. And every show she's kind of adding bits and finding bits and putting her own spin on it, which is great. So it's lovely to have Ruth there. We're playing Traitors at work, which is intense but very fun. I'm still alive. For how much longer, we'll find out. But I'm still in. I won't let you know if I am a traitor or a faithful. You'll have to find out.
You can let us know at the end.
I'll let you know when it's finished. That'll probably be next week. There's about 500 dressing rooms at the theatre, so everyone's got their own. That's nice. And we're staying in some lovely apartments by the lock. By the lock? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, by the quay. By the lock, by the quay, by the water. Just around the corner from the theatre, so that's really nice. But as far as kind of exciting things, I put a Viking helmet on and went round on a Splash Viking tour.
Went wound.
I went wound and wound on the Viking Splash Tour, which is like a bus that goes in the water and converts into a boat. Very cool. Yeah, it was really good fun. We shouted at people in the streets as Vikings on our bus. But yeah, kind of getting back into tour and getting back to kind of what that's like. Because it's hard work. You don't get a day off and you travel on your day. And it's quite a lot because you're not at home.
I am.
Yeah, well, nice one. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I was just going to say, and I've got Dolly, so sorry about it. Even though, as I will talk about later, I've barely seen her. I've been back at work and whatnot, but she's a happy girl and she's kind of got the best of both worlds at the moment with having me and having Sarah, the amazing dog sitter. But we'll talk more about that later. But Dolly is, yeah, chuffed to bits at the moment. So, as Alfie said, he is in Dublin at the moment. We both love Dublin. It was really nice, actually, because when I was in Dublin with the tour, Alfie came to visit me and we had a really lovely time and did loads of stuff. But for anyone who doesn't know, Dublin is the capital of the Republic of Ireland. So you obviously have Northern Ireland and then you have the Republic of Ireland. And Dublin is on the east coast. It's an amazing city. Not just in terms of kind of the history and how beautiful it is, but also great people, great atmosphere. Yeah, we both just love it. And as Alfie said, he flew to Dublin. And how was the flight, Al?
Yeah, good, actually. Everyone's ears were popping. So everyone's a little bit under the weather here on the tour. When you fly and with the change of pressure sometimes, your ears pop. When you're a bit congested and your ears start popping, it's quite painful. So actually, I was in a little bit of discomfort on the flight. I was sat next to Rob, LX2. If you're listening, Rob, shout out to LX, the lighting team. Rob's ears were popping bad. A pro tip from our producer, live in my ear, is go to the doctor and get your ears cleaned out before you fly. That might be a personal note just to me, but I'll look into it. But yeah, the flight was fine. Everyone was happy. Traces officially started on the day of the flying, so everyone was acting sus. Everyone was acting a bit dodgy. But yeah, flying was good. We arrived into Dublin at a reasonable time and split a taxi and arrived to our hotel apartments. Very fancy.
Yes, which I was just going to mention because, spoiler alert, I went to Dublin for a few days to visit Alfie, and I can confirm the apartments are bloody lovely.
They are nice.
Really, really nice, which made a huge difference as well, because basically, with the way that the touring rules work in the UK and Ireland, the Republic of Ireland is technically EU. So we have to get provided our accommodation when we go to the Republic of Ireland, which always works out for the best because you end up in these really nice hotels, or as Alfie has at the moment, serviced apartments. So you have basically a one-bed apartment. So it's got a bedroom with an ensuite, little kitchen, little lounge area. And I loved as well that the TV has the thing where you can link your laptop to it. So we could stream my laptop onto the telly, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Because we were watching Love is Blind.
Love is Blind.
And we love it. We just love a bit of trash TV. So we were streaming that onto the telly. How have the audiences been?
We've sold really well, and the theatre's huge. It's a big, big theatre, and shows always kind of struggle, I'd say, a little bit. But yeah, we sold really well. The audiences have been well up for it. We've had lots of nuns coming to watch, as in fake nuns. People dressed up coming to watch the show. The show's gone down incredibly well. The audiences here, especially with Ruth being in the show, are so hyped up. Because this is the first time you would have seen Ruth on a stage for a while. If you love Ruth Jones or Gavin and Stacey, you're going to book tickets just to see her in person, I think, if you love the TV programme that much. And Ruth's amazing.
Yeah, I went to watch it in Dublin as well, and she's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It's so different to how other people have done it. You know, I think the thing with Ruth is that she's not just an actor, she's a writer as well. So you can tell that she's approached it from this place of like making sense of the script and all of that stuff. And it's just really cool. Really, really cool. Lovely. Well done, Alf. So moving on, you, as we said, are in Dublin at the Bord Gosh Energy Theatre. So can you tell us a bit more about it, please, Alf?
Yes. Welcome to Alfie's tour feature. Now, this is off. It's a little bit of Wikipedia, I'm sorry, and off their official website as well, because you can get quite a lot of information off their website. Now, it's another relatively new building, so there isn't a huge amount of history, but here we go. The Bord Gosh Energy Theatre is an iconic architectural landmark designed by the world-renowned architect Daniel Libeskind. I hope I pronounced that right. Shout out to Daniel, because the theatre is absolutely lovely, and there's some really nice poles outside. Daniel didn't do those, but the whole place looks cool. The theatre commenced building in January 2007 and opened in March 2010. So there isn't a huge amount of history to the building again. Leicester is quite similar. So it's not like the stories of, oh yes, well back in 1840 a ghost was, do you know what I mean? They're quite new builds and you really see that in the space. The capacity is 2,111. So it's a big venue. The acoustics are amazing. That's my own take on that. Doesn't say that on the website.
To quote Sister Act, great acoustics.
Yeah, really great acoustics. And the stage is humongous. And the last bit from the website, it cost 80 million euros to build the building.
What?
80. 80 million. And it makes, surely this wasn't from the website. Now this might be dodgy. I'll double check my source. 80 million euros to build, and it makes around 8 million euros a year in ticket sales and like merch and food and drink.
I think that's probably accurate.
I think it is accurate, but I'll double check my source because the website's not going to put that. We've sold incredibly well. The theatre is so nice to look out and to see. The sound bounces off the walls here. It's such a round, warm sound. And unfortunately, there aren't really any ghosts because it's such a new building. Normally, a theatre's a bit spooky, but this one's quite lovely. I've got a nice big sofa in my room, and I look out onto the water, and it's very nice. The theatre is very modern and lovely.
Yeah, it's really nice. I think Dublin's always a highlight of any tour. Lovely place, lovely theatre, very expensive though.
Very expensive and lovely people, I should say. Linda, the local dresser in Dublin. I have Ella, who's on the tour with us. We have 3 members of wardrobe who tour with us, and Ella looks after me costume-wise. But to get me into some of my costumes, it takes 2 people, and we use a member of the local dressing team to help out with that change. So I get to know them very well. But everyone who works at Dublin backstage is incredibly lovely. And because there's so many shows that come through Dublin, because it is a highlight, everyone knows everyone. So I sent the selfie to Clive Rowe, who you're working with. of me
Big
and
up
Linda.
Duke.
Because she was like, I love Clive. And I was like, well, I'll let him know. And Jeremy's come up because you guys were there as well, weren't you? So they all remember you.
They probably have all dressed the show before. So they probably knew everything anyway.
Yeah, they all knew the drama.
Yeah, Dublin was our first stop when I did it.
Yeah. But yeah, great theatre. Recommend it. I recommend seeing a show there because the sound's amazing and the stage is so big.
Lovely. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. But going forward, I might be able to give you a bit more history about the buildings, but these are these are like 20 years old.
Yeah, you have been at two like really modern ones.
Yeah,
So.
there isn't a huge amount I can give you apart from it was designed by this person and it's very modern and nice. But hopefully, where are we next?
We are in...
We are?
No, I'm checking.
Are you coming?
No, because you're going to Derry. You've never been there.
No, but it's got quite a modern name. Derry Millennium Centre.
Yeah, Millennium Forum.
Oh, oops. Hopefully there's ghosts there and then I can let you know on the next episode because that'll be a bit more interesting.
Well, we look forward to it because I'm not going to lie, my segments used to be a lot better than yours, but that's what happens, isn't it?
What can I say? What am I meant to say? Oh, it's new. There's no ghosts. I'm going to find ghosts. Find more history. You normally talk about bombs. There haven't been any bombs in the last 15 years here.
Apart from your performance.
Yeah, go on then. Sorry, leave me alone. Do your segment. Stop upsetting me.
And if you check our social medias, you'll find exclusive photographs of many of the theatres we visit, courtesy of Rocky Horror Show legend Christian Lavercombe. He's actually now finished touring as Riff Raff and ended at the Lido in Paris, France. Very jealous. I think I'd quite like to do a show there. The theatre's meant to be amazing and their in-house productions are meant to be amazing as well. Our friend Josh Sinclair is there at the moment, I think, doing A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, and they did Cabaret before. They're meant to be really good. So yeah, jealous of Christian. And he played Riff Raff for ages and ages and ages and clocked way too many performances worldwide. But before we get on to this week's tour feature and what Dolly got up to this week, we're going to go to a short ad break.
Anyways, we're back with Thrash and Treasure. I'm Aaron, that's Mr. J-Wags, and we're joined by the one and only Duncan Sheik. We'll move on to the middle now.
All right.
Okay, yes.
Now, who would you put in your ultimate, most over-the-top rock supergroup?
Ooh, good question. Yes, follow.
So I have to put Glenn Tipton in there just for the when I was 10, 11 years old, like I was listening to almost all like Judas Priest and Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden and Ozzy, whatever, it was just the normal sort of like heavy metal bullshit that you would listen to in South Carolina in the early 80s, Van Halen, obviously. So Tipton would be in there. The other person who I know and love is Mick Jones, the guitar player from Foreigner. I know him because I'm like really good friends with his daughter. He's got a couple daughters, and obviously Mark Ronson is his like stepson. So we worked together a couple times, and Mick is just like, he's like an incredible guitar player. I mean, some people may say Foreigner, it's like sort of AOR, 80s American rock. Mick is like an incredibly great guitar player.
Foreigner is one of the most underrated bands of the 80s and 70s. Like the sheer number of hits that like are in radio play still.
Oh yeah.
But we never connect them with Foreigner. It's always I Want to Know What Love Is. It's never like it's not Jukebox Hero. It's never like Dirty White Boy. It's like those great songs that were before that.
Aaron, are you doing double plaid?
It's not plaid, it's tartan for one thing. But it's also like 5 degrees, so I have a jacket on, but I'll take it off just so I don't get picked on by Duncan Sheik, because Sheik is literally in your name. Sorry.
Far be it for me to judge anybody about their sartorial proclivities, but like I notice these things.
That's fine. It's only purely because it's cold, and the other jacket I've got's like really thick. So
is it cold in Melbourne right now?
Winter.
Very cold. It's the middle of winter. Yeah, it's like I'll be able to tell you.
I'm jealous. I'm honestly jealous.
At the moment outside, it's 3 degrees Celsius.
Wow.
That is 38 Fahrenheit.
Yeah, that's cold. That's chilly.
At the moment, I'm sitting with a fan just off camera.
That's chilly. I'm mostly Scottish and Irish and part Lithuanian, so I actually like colder weather. I can survive in hot weather.
And we are back with Around the World in 80 Plays. I'm Lizzie Bea, and that is...
Alfie Parker.
So for this week's tour feature, we have decided that we're going to talk a bit about health and performing and being on tour, and kind of how stressful it can be to have to make health such a priority in our job, and kind of talk about our experiences with that. So, Alf, how's your health?
Ankle's still a bit sore, but yeah, touch wood. My health's okay. It is okay. I go through waves of trying to be good and then forgetting that I need to be good. Do you know what I mean? But being on tour is it just adds another element to that, because you can't just pop to your doctor or, oh, I need to go to the dentist. Do you? Because you're in Ireland. Physio is another one where it's just hard. The company are always very good, and Tom, our company manager here on the tour, with the office, if I said to them, I need to go and see a doctor, he'd make it work, absolutely. But it's just another element of stress, isn't it? I don't know where I'm going. I don't know anyone. It all just adds to it. And the fact that we don't get a day off, we get Sundays to travel and have a day off. And I think that is too much. I think because we don't get a designated day off, you're inevitably going to make people tired and make people unwell and lower their immune systems. And that is one big circle, one big old cycle. And when you're in the building and you're unwell, you're only going to spread that to other people. And trying to shift an illness out of a company of performers and all departments of the building is quite tricky. And I think a lot of people forget that, especially when you're on tour, you're in a big bubble. So you only really socialise with the same people and you live in with them as well. So it's quite hard to break away from everyone.
Oh, please.
Quote from the show: it's quite hard to break away from everyone. So ultimately people just get ill, and then it's quite hard to shift it. But touch wood, I'm doing okay.
Knocking down the walls in your...
I didn't realise it was that hollow. Yes, touch wood, I'm okay. Thank you. How are you? How's your health?
Actually not good. We're only in our first week of rehearsals and I've already got a sinus infection, so that bodes really well, doesn't it? Oh, sorry, I can't stop burping. Because on top of that, also, I've been diagnosed with severe acid reflux. So it's all going on at the moment. But it's just one of the... Excuse me.
Carry on, please, madam. P.U.
You're so rude. Alfie was doing like, stinky acting. It doesn't stink.
Yeah, I was doing stinky through the Zoom, through my lovely laptop camera.
But yeah, it can just be really stressful when you get ill, because obviously health in our job is absolutely paramount. Like, we are in one of the only jobs in the world where even if you've got a slight cold, it might mean you can't go to work because you're ill. I personally struggle quite badly with like anxiety towards my health and get anxious about getting ill, anxious about having to have time off, all of that stuff. And it can be really mentally draining because you kind of are like beating yourself up for being ill, but you know you can't help being ill, like it just happens. But when you love your job so much, it can be really, really stressful, especially if it's like affecting your singing. It can just be really horrible. So I think it's really important to kind of like take the stigma away from it and just kind of... I think the industry is in this place now where the whole kind of like mental aspect of it is a lot more respected, and people aren't necessarily expected to like push through, and doctor theatre will get you through, and like you don't take time off and blah 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 blah. You know, it's all within reason. Like, you can't take the piss with it, and people absolutely will know if you are. You know, if you're off every other week with some mysterious illness, or because you're a bit bunged up and you just can't be bothered to go to work, then that's not great. But if you are, you know, if you have a chronic illness like asthma or something, or if you are vulnerable and are more susceptible to getting COVID and stuff like that, you are going to have more time off. And that is not a reflection on your talent or your professionalism or your attitude towards the job. That is life. And I think it is a lot more accepted now that actually letting people rest and have the time off that they need to recover properly is much more beneficial in the long run. And something that someone said to me on Hairspray, which was really helpful, because obviously we were doing that at like the height of COVID and people were getting really, really ill. And someone just said to me, it is a marathon, not a sprint. And you have to pace yourself. And sometimes resting and taking things slowly is the best thing you can do to like get to the finish line and enjoy it.
Well said. Absolutely. And following on from that, I know that we spoke briefly about it taking a toll on your mental health, and something that our producers who we work with at the moment have set up something called Self Space, I believe it's called, where we can request for our company managers to get a link through them. And then you go to this website and basically you can fill out a little questionnaire and match up with a therapist in loose terms. I'm doing air quotes through the camera, but a therapist or someone who you can talk to, and we get 3 sessions for free, and that's completely anonymous, and the company don't even know. But that's a really good thing that they've set up, especially in our industry, like Lizzie says, where you're stressed because you want to be back to work, but your voice just doesn't quite feel right, or you're just a bit bunged up. And normally, in most other jobs, if you're a bit bunged up, you can still go to work, you can still sit at a desk, or you can still, even to a degree, if we were dancers and you got a bit of a cold, you could probably still get through it. But it's quite a vocally demanding show for a lot of the tracks in it. And on top of that, you don't want to risk. We work with older members of the company. There's some older members in our casts, because that's what the show needs and absolutely should have. But you can't risk giving someone in their 70s something. It just doesn't feel morally correct for me. So it's something that you have to be careful about. Something that I probably should be more active with. I do take my Baroccas once in a while. I don't know if that's a good answer, but
I think me and Alfie are kind of at opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of looking after our health. And it is maybe a negative thing for me, but because I have such terrible anxiety towards my health, I might as well be taking the entirety of Holland and Barrett each morning, because I take so many supplements and really do everything I can to try and stay healthy. And for me, that is more to take away the mental toll of it, because then if I do get ill, I can go, well, I've done absolutely everything I possibly can to try and be healthy, and then you can kind of mentally accept it a bit more. And something that I was thinking is that I know on tour you don't get as much time off and you are traveling and blah, 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 blah. But what I will say is I think quite a lot of the stress of everyday life is taken away. Like, what I'm kind of finding being at home again is that you have still got to do all of your housework. You have still got to commute. You have still got to, go to the shop whenever you can and blah, 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 blah. It's a lot. You kind of have a lot more on your plate in terms of like life goes on. Whereas I think on tour, you are very much in this bubble of like, oh, I don't really have any life commitments. So the show is all I'm doing. And I think it's maybe makes it a bit more manageable.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair take on it. I think there's less pressure to be like, oh, well, Friday's my day where I hoover. Do you know what I mean? And like life goes on, and you still have to go and pick up your prescriptions, and you still have to do that. And in your case, you still have to walk the dog and things like that. So I do get it. It swings and roundabouts. Fair comment, Lizzie.
Thanks.
And yeah, going to the gym. Probably do that more often.
Yeah, I think that is one thing we both need to prioritize a bit more, is the exercise aspect. Because I mean, when I was on Hairspray, the exercise was such a huge part of my life. Like, Alfie can attest to the fact it literally became my life. And I had like a full exercise and eating plan and all of that. And I think what you learn is you have to make time for it. And, I'm now back to working with Beverly Knight, who anyone who knows her or has worked with her or whatever, she is a machine, like an actual machine. And she makes time for her exercise. She makes time to eat healthily. She makes time to make her health and her well-being and her lifestyle a priority. Like, for her, it is not just a job, it is her life. And I think you kind of realise that to work at that level, that is how it has to be. And I think it is a bit of like a reality check in terms of, are you willing to make that commitment? Because if you're not, then maybe you need to have a bit of a rethink about if it's for you in kind of the least harsh way possible. But if you do want to be working at that level, it's absolute discipline you have to have with your entire life. Like, it is not a job, it is a lifestyle. That's a steep learning curve that I definitely personally have been on. And believe me, sometimes I go to work and I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? Like, it is so mentally draining and my body's tired and my throat is tired and my brain is tired, but I love my job so much that I am willing to do whatever it takes to be able to do it. And hopefully that will mean that I can have continued success and make a real amazing career like I want to.
Yeah, I agree. Ditto. Without repeating what Lizzie says, it is true. And yeah, we're only really kind of, I guess, the first steps in our long careers. Touch wood. I won't do it again because the digs are hollow.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is the first couple of steps for us, and I want to be doing it till I'm Leslie's age. So I've got to look after myself.
Exactly. And I think that's where we're really lucky on this job, that we're working with these older people who are so inspirational and like love their job and have kept themselves healthy, kept their brains so active and their bodies so active, and it's inspirational. And you kind of go, that's how you have to be that person. And if that's what you want, it's a real reality check. But it is what we both want. And I think we're doing a good job. I think we're sensible, and I think we take our job seriously and we enjoy it as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
#blessed.
And booked.
Anyway, it is now time for everybody's favourite segment. What did Dolly do? Not to disappoint too much, but it's not a hugely exciting segment this week because I haven't really seen her. The first week that Alfie was in Dublin, I did have her for half the week, but then the other half of the week, she went to Nanny and Grandad, aka my mum and dad's house, and had the time of her life because she gets very spoilt there, and normally puts on weight as well because my mum feeds her 24/7. But yeah, my parents were very, very kind, and because I went to visit Alfie, and I've been working my bottom off recently in Superdrug, and even though we've had a break from the show, we haven't really had a break from working because we both were at Superdrug or doing the escape room or all of the various things that we did over our break. My mum said, yeah, you really deserve this time. I'll have Dolly. I'll look after her. She dropped her home for me the day before I started rehearsal. So even though I haven't seen Dolly, she's had a very nice time and was dragging Nanny around the park, she said. Yeah, we've FaceTimed Dolly and Nanny whilst we were both in Dublin together, and I think they were having a very nice time, don't you, Al?
Dolly always loves Nanny's house because, as Lizzie said, she gets spoilt, she gets fed, and she gets to play with Billy, the miniature schnauzer, Lizzie's family dog, and they love each other, and they do WWE, and they wrestle each other, and they have a big old garden, and they whiz round and round and round. So I have no doubt that Dolly is having the best time, and I'm incredibly jealous because I want to be whizzing around the garden at Nanny's house, and I'm not.
Yeah, Alfie's obsessed with Nanny and Grandad, so
I love them. Nanny Sue and Grandad Ivy.
Legends. And then this week, I've barely seen her because I've been in rehearsals. So she's been at the dog sitters every day. Our amazing dog sitter, Sarah, who is one half of Russell's Animal Adventures in Brighton, where we live. And Dolly has an equally amazing time with her. Their resident dog, Shadow, who is a Pharaoh hound. He's a big boy, gorgeous dog. Apparently, when Dolly went on Monday, he kissed Dolly all over her body.
Wow.
So they're in love, and I think they're very happy to see each other. So Dolly is there pretty much every day whilst I'm in rehearsals, and that's kind of what we have to do because when the rehearsal venue isn't dog friendly, you don't have a choice. Luckily, once I get into shows, I'll be taking her to work every day, so that this segment will be far more interesting. I think what this week kind of highlights is how lucky we are to have such an amazing support system. And, you know, I think living in Brighton has really given us that as well, because our families are nearby. We've kind of found an amazing company like Russell's, which is so flexible, and they love Dolly so much. Like, they honestly look after her like she's their own dog. So even though I haven't been with her, she has had a great couple of weeks.
Love her.
We do. We love her so much.
Miss her.
I know, not long till you see her. You've only got one more week.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're home for a week.
Yeah.
So you can kiss her. Kiss that girl. Smack that girl. Anyway, I think that's about it for this week's episode. Next week, you can be lucky to catch Alfie in Derry, Londonderry. whilst I will be continuing my rehearsals and my domination of the Dominion on London's West End. No, wait, in London's West End, Aaron. In. You say in the West End. I'll get slaughtered if I say on the West End.
Live footage of Lizzie kicking off to Aaron, the producer. Wow.
I just read it and I was like, no, I have to say in. But anyway, you can find us on the social medias at 80 Plays Podcast. That's one word with the number 80 Plays Podcast. Over to Alfie for his favourite section.
And did you know that you can purchase our theme song, Blue Sky, by Australian band Walken? Yep, you can help support our show and own the full track, all thanks to Drew and the boys of Walken. So thank you to them, because we're truly grateful for your support. So, if you go to www.tollestontales.com/bookstore, right at the very top, you'll see our logo where you can buy our own MP3 of Blues. Right at the very top, you'll see our logo where you can buy your own MP3 of Blue Sky, which will help us fund this epic adventure across the UK and Ireland. Plus, we can buy Dolly the dog some treats along the way. And, of course, shout out to Drew, who's been listening every week. Love you, Drew.
And Gru.
Love you, Drew, and Gru from Despicable Me.
We love him. If you have any questions, suggestions, or comments, you can email us at 80playspodcast@gmail.com. That's one word, 80playspodcast@gmail.com. Please do send stuff in. It makes our lives far more exciting. And we want you guys to feel like you're really involved in the podcast, so that it's not just me and Alfie chatting to each other on Alfie's new laptop.
Do you know what? I might take a picture of the laptop, guys, because it's getting a lot of attention, and it's getting a real spotlight shone on it. So,
well, it should do, because you've been using mine for the past 6 years. So,
and this is fabulous. The keyboard flashes.
Woo! Anyway, now we sit and wonder what happened to Miss Independent. No longer need to be defensive. Goodbye, old you, when love is true.